Championship teams all throughout the history of the NBA have been driven by one or two offensive superstars. In 2003, Kobe and Shaq had won 3 out of the last 5 titles, with Duncan and a core of stars winning in between. Before that, it was Jordan and Pippen, Olajuwon in 95. Keep going back through the title rosters, and you'll find a superstar on every single one of them. In 2004, when Kobe, Shaq, now paired with 2 former All-Stars in Malone and Gary Payton, were matched up against the team that had no top 10 flashy superstar, they were expected to easily take care of business. My name's Adam, this is D-Flow's NBA Talk. Today I'm talking about how the 04 Pistons developed a title roster in just 4 seasons without signing or drafting a superstar. For teams in today's NBA, I'm going to bring up themes that led to the Pistons' success for them to copy. But the way the Pistons developed their roster is a very unique and rare story. I'll debate if it can even be replicated in today's NBA. Let's go back to the 1999 NBA offseason, where the Pistons were a mediocre team, no playoff series wins in 8 years. Joe Dumars is hired as team president, and this is when the rise would start. So right off the bat, management and ownership, that's our first theme for the Pistons' success. The reasons that some NBA teams have been at the bottom of the league for so long is because of incompetent draft picks and signings, due to owners and GM's lack of basketball competence. Joe Dumars, though, he knew what a championship team was made of, being that he had won 2 championships just 10 years earlier with these Pistons. His first move as president was getting rid of Grant Hill, 4-time All-Star for the Pistons, in a sign-and-trade for Chucky Atkins and Ben Wallace. Hill was planning on leaving. They receive a man, though, who would go on to average at least 10 rebounds per game and 2 blocks per game for the next 7 consecutive seasons, while becoming a 4-time All-Star and a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. But in 2000, they were swept in the first round. 2001, they missed the playoffs. 2002, they were a second-round exit. And our second key is retool, don't rebuild. How many teams have we seen stuck in rebuild mode for the last decade? Too many. Tearing everything apart doesn't always work, and if you're going to build up your team in 4 seasons like the Pistons, you won't build it fast enough. In that offseason, Detroit trades Jerry Stackhouse to the Wizards for guard Richard "Rip" Hamilton, signed journeyman guard Chauncey Billups, and draft forward Tayshaun Prince. Billups was not the man you've heard of before signing with Detroit. 1997 up until 2002, the beginning of his career saw him earn the label of a draft bust, the 3rd overall pick in 97. He had played for 5 teams already. Rip Hamilton was a steal of an acquisition. Stackhouse tailed off after one more good season with the Wiz. Their lockdown defender Tayshaun Prince was then drafted all the way down at number 23, creating a nightmare offensive experience for opposing teams, with now nearly every position in their starting 5 being top defensive players. Identity is theme number 3. If you're not going to have an offensive superstar, develop a roster that knows who they are. This Pistons team was defensive-minded. The Pistons came up short again, though, in the 2003 playoffs, getting swept in the conference finals by the Nets. Hall of Fame coach Larry Brown was then hired, but the 2003-04 season was anything but flawless. The team had lost 6 straight in February, were just 10 games over 500, so Joe Dumars decides to trade for forward Rasheed Wallace at the 04 trade deadline, a solid all-around big man who would stretch the floor on offense and play into Detroit's pressure defense system. Again, retooling over rebuilding, stick-to-itiveness after another seemingly failed season. A lot of GMs would have torn it down and started a rebuild, but Rasheed Wallace turned out to be the final piece to the Pistons' puzzle. The Pistons finished the season 20-4 with an overall record of 58-24. If you believe in your core, trade for a player that can put you over the top. A massive deadline deal like this one could be the factor that gets you to a championship level. After beating the Bucks easily in the first round, rallying from a 3-2 deficit against the Nets, and beating the Pacers without a team scoring more than 85 points the entire series, they were headed to the finals. But no one gave the Pistons a slight chance to beat the powerhouse Lakers. Here's how it went. Game 1 from Staples Center, the Lakers outside of Shaq and Kobe score just 17 points as Billups leads the way for Detroit with 22. It's a balanced attack for the Pistons, though, as they shock the world in Game 1, 87-75. Game 2, Kobe and Shaq combine for 62 and get just enough from the supporting cast to even the series. Then there are 3 straight games at the Palace, and just 25 points and a -39 from Kobe and Shaq in Game 3. The defense of Detroit stops the best duo in league history. Next game, the deadline deal pays off, as Rasheed Wallace leads the way with 26. Then it's Hamilton again leading the way in Game 5, finishing the Lakers off with 21. The leading scorer for the Pistons changed for every win. Their supporting cast consistently contributed, and team ball had beaten dominant superstars. The Lakers scored 90 points in only one game the entire series. The defensive style of Detroit threw Kobe off. They put Prince and then Hamilton on him. Very different bodies. Prince was probably the best wing defender in the league that year, and Ben Wallace led the league in defensive win shares and made Shaq work, although Shaq was still himself. The problem with this happening in today's NBA is that the Warriors have 4 All-Stars, including 2 MVPs in their prime, unfortunately, and you can't forget about Iggy. It's just such a well-rounded roster. The Pistons were able to take advantage of no one outside of Kobe and Shaq producing. The fact was that for the 04 Lakers, Malone and Payton proved not to be a great fit around Shaq and Kobe. In Kobe and Shaq's face-to-face interview this year, Kobe touched on the Pistons' disaster, saying, "On the Pistons thing, that's my fault. I didn't have us prepared to run our automatics. I didn't get Gary, I didn't get Carl, I didn't get the new guys on board enough to be able to execute properly." Regardless, though, the Pistons did the unthinkable. They stunned the NBA and brought championship glory to Detroit. Nowadays, it's been an entire decade since the Pistons last won a playoff game in 2008, and the organization has failed to rebuild its roster multiple times. Maybe the firing of Stan Van Gundy proves to be their turning point, but I'm sure the city of Detroit is dying to see a team like they had in 04. If you enjoyed this NBA story and want more, leave a like, subscribe for NBA updates, stories, and predictions. Appreciate all 578 of you guys. If you made it this far, you're the best. Have a great day. D-Flow signing off.